Yeah, so my story is it's been a lot of ups and downs for sure. Starting off with being diagnosed with eczema at like 10 months old. Similar to Zyla, my parents would have to like wrap my arms up in like gauze because I would be scratching. And then they would get, comments from other parents or family members, what's wrong. But yeah, at 10 months old, I was diagnosed. And I believe around that same time, the dermatologist started giving me steroids. And that lasted for up until I was 26 years old. So that whole time, just using different steroids throughout the years. And of course, as you get older, and the steroid, your hormones change, just puberty, whatnot, or just unhealthy diets, environment, whatever it may be, my skin just got worse to where I needed stronger steroids. And fast forward to going to college, and just the stress of that alone was just a lot for me. And so my skin was breaking out a lot. And just like Zyla said too, I would remember like leaving class or just waiting for the lecture to be done to have a break to go to the bathroom to scratch. It was so like embarrassing for me, but it was like the only like thing that I could do to kind of, relieve myself, relieve my skin, then having to come back to class and then, get stuff done. But, towards the end of my 4 years in college, I started, which I shouldn't have done, by someone's recommendation. I think someone on the subway actually seeing my skin and giving unsolicited advice. But to me, it was helpful. They said, "Oh, check out this doctor," because I was going to school in Manhattan at a Fashion Institute of Technology, and then someone told me, "Oh, go to this doctor in the Bronx. He's a wonder for skin issues and whatnot." And I went up there and I started to get steroid injections in my feet and my hands because that's where the eczema is really concentrated. And so it was basically the same stuff that I was putting on my skin, like triamcinolone, but it was injections. So it's now into your skin, into your bloodstream, into your tissues. So it cleared it up like automatically, so fast. And it was such a wonder, right? But then I can't remember how long it would last for. It might have been like a week or two, and then I would have to go back up there. So I can't remember exactly how many times I would take the trek up there to, get these injections done, but it was often enough. And towards the end of, my college experience, graduating, just the stress and everything like that, it's my skin flaring up and down. It got pretty bad. And then like I couldn't even really hold down my internship that I got. And so, I had to quit that. And I graduated in 2007, and then 2008 was when I was hit with Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so my stage was stage 3 at the time. And I found this out because I had a lump in my left clavicle. Had a lump there. No, sorry, my left clavicle, yes. Had a lump there, and they had to take it out and diagnose it. It was a tumor, and so they diagnosed it as Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so from that period, I did the chemotherapy and, was in remission. And it was 2012 is when I started learning about topical steroid withdrawal. And it's just that my skin was just not getting better. The creams and whatnot wasn't doing anything for me. I wasn't taking any steroid pills, but it was just like topical treatments. And yeah, it was just, I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why my skin wasn't taking to these creams anymore. And just researching, I found this woman, her name was Dania, and looking at her photos, it was exactly what I was experiencing. So I reached out to her, and she was telling me what it was. And yeah, basically I just decided to just stop it, cold turkey pretty much. And that was an experience in itself. I probably should have tapered off. I mean, I didn't have any, help through doctors at that point, just because going to the dermatologist like my whole life was the same kind of deal. They never took the time to do basically what Abby and her team does, right? Like getting tests done, asking you about, your diet, your environment, like anything like that. It was just, they saw it. Maybe they would do like I guess, what is it when they take a piece of your skin, like a skin biopsy, or, that's pretty much it as far as like testing. But yeah, it was just a lot of creams. And so I just figured like they wouldn't help me at that point. But finding this woman and hearing her information and whatnot, I knew something was pulling me. Like, I knew this was something I needed to do. And this was like the only source I had at that point. And so, yeah, so I did the topical steroid withdrawal, and I remember it was in March of 2012. And for that spring and summer, my skin flared up crazy. It was insane. Like, it was a whole body flare. But like towards the end of summer, I remember the rest of my body was calming down, and it was just concentrated like on my legs and my feet. My hands were pretty bad, but not as open as like some of the photos that you're seeing. It was always terrible on my legs and my feet for like this whole time. So yeah, so in that early stages in 2012, it was always spring, summer that I would flare terribly. Fall, winter, it was calm. It was great. And then the anxiety would come, like, is it gonna flare up again or whatnot? Spring, summer hit, and then it would flare again. But it wasn't as bad. Like, as the time passed, as the years passed, it would like calm down. And I always had to like remind myself, like, okay, Jen, you're not only dealing with eczema and like all of the creams that you've used, but think about the chemotherapy that's in your body. So like when you're going through this process, remember that there's like, you have like a toxic load, right? Of the things that you've accumulated over the years. And just always kind of like remember that and like give yourself grace that your body is healing. It's just taking its time because of what has been, put into it. So yeah, so after like the winter, like I was saying, those cycles of the winters and summer and whatnot, I was able to kind of, get my life back together. At that point, I was in North Carolina, which I currently live in now. But I was living in North Carolina at the beginning of TSW, and I moved back to New York to try to like just get my life going again. And I was doing pretty well. And then again, it hit back in the spring, summer, and I just couldn't keep up again. And after time, I had moved down to Florida to be with my mother. She was going through some health issues. And so I've been like helping her out and taking care of her. She has a spinal cord injury, so she's in a wheelchair. So I'm like her caregiver. And we were there for a while and came up to North Carolina. And the house that I was staying in had a dresser in it, and it was moldy. And it's something like, I have a really sensitive nose, so I can kind of detect these things. And I knew something was off in that room, but it took me like a day or two to realize what it was. And it's like, once I landed that house and stayed there overnight, my skin flared up like crazy. So my body is super sensitive to these things, right? And we were supposed to go back to Florida, I think within a week or so. It took a whole month because my skin was so bad I couldn't drive. And when I got back, that whole summer I was going through like this weird, like excessive sweating thing. And so I went to the oncologist to find out what was going on. And I can't remember, it was so many things that happened, but I suspected something was happening within my body, hoping the cancer wasn't coming back. But after some tests and whatnot, and I think it was, I had another, there's so many things that happened. Yeah, there was another tumor that came up on the right side, and this was like 2020, and they diagnosed it again as Hodgkin's lymphoma. So it just shows how like things can trigger your body, just like how that mold triggered my skin, triggered my body to have the cancer come back. And so it's a whole kind of like all-encompassing thing. So in 2020, I did the chemotherapy once again, and then after that I started to do Abby's program. It was like in the early stages when she had more practitioners there. So I started to do the program before, I think it was before the chemo the second time around, and then I stopped it because of the chemo. I just kind of figured like, let me just focus on just the chemotherapy. And so as I was doing the chemo, my skin got better, but it was only because they were also using, like within the chemo, they used IV drips of steroids. So the chemo is going through, the IV is going through the steroids, my skin is clearing up. But it's like, even with that, having the chemo, I believe, was once or twice a month. And then, yeah, even with that, it's like doing the chemo and then like maybe like a week would go by and my skin would start to show signs of flaring up again. So it just shows how like that topical steroid withdrawal process is like a constant thing, right? Like applying it may help, but then your skin is going to be like, nope, and then revert back. So I was finally done with the chemo and then going back to the program, and because my skin had flared up at that point, getting off of the chemotherapy, going back on the programs, and it was helping. I was like, slowly chipping away at the things that was wrong. And then in 2021, I had this random like pneumonia thing happen where I ended up in the hospital. I checked myself in on my birthday, actually, August 27th, 2021. I didn't get back home until before Thanksgiving. I was in the hospital. It was so many things that they were trying to do to try to figure out what was wrong with me. It's just, I was having breathing issues, upon coming into the hospital, just feeling really weak and whatnot. And they had to intubate me 2 times. This was around the COVID time. And they tested me like multiple times. Every day they were coming in, testing me for COVID. And it wasn't COVID. It ended up being like pneumonia and also blood clots. Like I had blood clots in my lungs. Within the intubation, I'm getting emotional right now. Within the intubation, I had a stroke. I had blood clots in my legs. I had a tiny stroke, and I came out of that fine. I was intubated twice. They told my parents that, I think, it was a second intubation. They told my parents, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 intubations now. There's so many things that happened. They told my parents that if they couldn't get me out of this intubation to get my affairs in order. Like, so that's just to say, it's like there are so many things happening, but I'm still here. So if any of you guys are struggling with your skin, with any health issues, with any stress in your life, know that you're resilient and you're still here for a purpose, okay? Like, there's a reason that you're still here. So keep fighting no matter what, no matter how painful it is. Give yourself love and know that you can still push on. So within all of that, I came out of the intubation and, breathing was still difficult, but I was getting better. And I learned all of these things about the stroke and the blood clots after the fact, because it was going to be too much information to give me, right then and there. But so I ended up having to go to a rehab center to gain my strength back, basically. Being, in the hospital bed for so long, my walking was really weak. It was a lot of things. So it took me, that's what it was too, is like they couldn't let me be discharged unless I could walk without my heart rate getting crazy, because the whole time my breathing was so difficult. My heart rate would go crazy high because I'm like struggling to try to breathe. So,
and can I add Jen? So back then I used to talk to Jen as well. So when she did have that time when she did have to get intubated, I used to talk to her, but then her mom had to take over the conversation and talk to me and send me updates. And I was like, oh no, this is bad. If Jen wasn't able to talk, and the fact that your mom had to send me updates, and I think they weren't sure what was, because the doctors also weren't sure what was happening and if you were gonna make it as well. So I also got very scared at that time.
Yeah, it was so much. It's like, and even like till this day, my mom will like uncover tidbits of what happened. I'm like, what happened? That happened? Because it was so much happening. But yeah, I'm so thankful that she was able to reach out to you and just give updates and whatnot. But yeah, I went through the rehab center, and like I said, I wanted to be home for Thanksgiving. That was like a big thing for me. So I was able to make it out of there before Thanksgiving, got my strength back, had to use a walker to help myself out. And all of this too, like I said, the cancer was like At that point, it was kind of in remission. Like my oncologist never likes to say, oh, you're cancer free kind of thing. But there was this little tumor that was still in my body. I think it was on the left side, like left side under rib cage. And I kept thinking as I'm like, as I was in the hospital for the pneumonia thing, before they were intubating me and stuff like that, I'm like, oh my gosh, my body is going through so much. All these drugs pumped into me, all these tests being done, like, what is this cancer doing in my body? Is it growing? Like, I was freaking out about that, praying that this cancer wasn't growing and, not knowing if the cancer itself had something to do with the pneumonia, but they talked to oncologists within all the tests and whatnot, and they said that that doesn't have anything to do with each other. And so, fast forward to after the rehab facility, and then I had to do a scan, CT scan at that point, because I couldn't do it. I think it was I couldn't do it when I was in the hospital for the pneumonia. But I did a CT scan and went back to the oncologist, and that tumor was completely gone. So it was like this weird, I was like, wow, how is it that my body is like being inundated with like, all of these drugs, all of this stress, and I'm worrying about this cancer still in my body. Is it there? Is it growing? Is it getting bigger? Completely gone. So that was definitely a blessing. And just, show the goodness of God, like just being with me, and like all the prayers that came through. It was very, very amazing, the healing that happened. That's another thing too, just remind yourself that your body is so amazing and so powerful to heal itself. Like, I mean, just seeing before and afters of other people's skin through, Abby's program, seeing how it can go through the worst of the worst and still repair itself. Like, nothing is impossible. Just remember that. So all of that happened. And then, I got back into the program with Abby and Ben, and, like Zyla was saying, just the level of care that they have, they can pinpoint what's going on with you with the different tests and whatnot. I did a hair analysis test. I did blood tests, just going through like your lifestyle and whatnot, and they can just tell you what's going on, seeing pictures. Like, it's amazing the technology that we have to do video calls, and they can, look at you and, just zoom in on your skin and show you what's happening. These are things that no dermatologist has been able to tell me. Not a gut test, not a blood test, nothing like that. And so just being with them and understanding their process, they were able to tell me that I was also, like Zyla, low in iron. I needed more protein and more fats in my diet, low in vitamin D. Found out that I have some thyroid issues, so working on that. And then lymphatic congestion, hence Hodgkin's lymphoma. And also the pictures that you've seen with my skin, it was staph. So it was definitely staph with the oozing and whatnot. And so just, chipping away, deficiencies, chipping away at, issues and stuff like that, clear things up. And this past summer, something that Ben recommended me had been like the game changer for my skin. It was wild. It was in August. My birthday was coming around again, August 27th. Quick fun fact, me and Abby have the exact same birthday, except I'm a year older than her. But it was this thing called indigo powder. I'm not sure the exact traditional Chinese medicine name, the Chinese name for it, but it's indigo powder. And he said to apply it to my feet and my legs. And it's because it's anti-inflammatory. It helps to pull the heat out of the skin and clear up infections. And so I mixed it with water. There's a certain ratio you have to do. But I mixed it with water, applied it as a paste, let it sit for the day, wash it off the next day, apply again. I was amazed how it dried up the ooziness, and then you start to see it dry up and, get darker and start to heal, the skin heal. I mean, because for so long I wasn't able to walk properly, do much, even just walk. The way that I would walk would be kind of as if I'm on high heels, using flip-flops in the house and whatnot, as if I'm on high heels, because the sores that I had on the bottom of my feet, I didn't want them sticking to my flip-flop and then, causing more pain and more issues. So it was a lot of like, getting up, doing something, sitting down real quick kind of thing to take a break. And so it just makes, life so much harder when you can't use your feet, when you can't walk around properly, like doing chores, taking care of my mom, helping her out. Like, I couldn't drive, I couldn't get out there. So it's just, a lot that you realize that you kind of take for granted, even taking showers. I'm sure we've all experienced that, where just the pain, the burn, or like foregoing showers because of how much it hurts or whatever. So yeah, just to have my skin clear now, so much better. Forever grateful, forever thankful for Abby and her team. I'm still dealing with some thickness, some discoloration. Like, you can see like around my mouth, my eyes, but my eyebrows are growing back. That is something that's been great. I loved my eyebrows back in the day. They were super thin. I know that you guys have experienced hair loss issues, maybe discoloration, thickness, different areas of my skin are still kind of thick, but, with different things that I'm doing, creams or what have you, natural stuff, it's healing. It's all healing. Like I've said before, it's like, just, bless your body, give things to your body, like love your body, give yourself grace, and know that your body is resilient. Just as you are resilient mentally, your physical body is resilient, can bounce back. Like, even if you've had so much toxic load in your body, you can chip away at things, you can heal. Like, so just give yourself that grace and that love. And yeah, that's my story. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Thank you, Jen. And honestly, that's you've been through so much, and it's really amazing to see what you've been through and to also watch you overcome so much as well. I know you've done so much in the past before. You've also done a lot of conventional methods and also tried so many different things, especially having gone through the chemo as well and having to go through rehab and not knowing if you would make it. But, now your test has become your testimony. And I'd love to know what made this different from all the other treatments that you've tried in the past.
Yeah, like I said, it was just going to a dermatologist for a lot of my life. I kind of gave up on that, after college. Yeah, even during like the first bout with cancer, it was just kind of pointless to me. And then, just basically searching online. That's also when I found out about, like, a little bit after a little bit after starting TSW, I found like the Facebook group and like, I'm like, wow, there are thousands of people experiencing the same thing. And so kind of just like learning, from other people, what's out there, just doing my own kind of research. But even that, wasn't pinpointing what I needed to do. Like, I was trying to just help myself nutritionally, but being with you guys, it was more personalized. That's something that I've never been able to really get, especially not with dermatologists. So you guys, like, you do the testing, you do the work, you pinpoint things, it's personalized. Not everyone has the same situation. Like, it may look kind of similar on the outside, but you don't know that person's health history or deficiencies they may have. So it's really important to get that consultation, that one-on-one, and just get that personalized protocol. You guys, just like Zyla said, you care. Like, because, a lot of your practitioners, you and Ben especially, have gone through it, you have that empathy. You can talk to the other person, with that empathy, with that care, with that love, and just be able to work with them with any kind of circumstance. You hear Zyla's story, like, that's insane. Like, she's dealing with not being in your own home. Like, how it is when you're feeling this way. For me, I want to just isolate. I want to not be around anyone, even family members, like, and so just having to be around a whole bunch of people, it's, the stress, the anxiety, the embarrassment, whatever self-consciousness you may feel. So they work with you in any situation, any financial situation, like they help you out because they know how it is to feel that way physically, how to go through it emotionally. So yeah, that's definitely the difference.
Thanks for sharing, Jen. And I also want to add on to some of the root causes that we were talking about, just in case anyone is interested, because everyone has such a wide range of root causes. It's always different for each person. So some of the things that we did find when we were working with Jen was because there's lower leg eczema and swelling, there was a lymphatic congestion there, and there's nutrient deficiencies, kind of like Jen mentioned. For some reason, no one had ever pointed out that there was low iron or that your thyroid levels were very high as well. So that was also very different. And then the lack of good fats too. So really supporting your lymphatic circulation, your blood circulation, replenishing the iron and supporting your thyroid and replenishing the good fats really helped you in that way.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, just those things, and just the different supplements that I hadn't heard of before, but Ben knew. Ben was very knowledgeable about, Abby's very knowledgeable about, and, just incorporating those things to, help with the swelling, help with the pain has been just very helpful.
That's great. If anyone has any last questions you want to ask, please put it in the chat. There was a question I just want to help address. Someone had for you, Jen, was how did you cope emotionally? What do you think helped you stay mentally strong? And what could you recommend to others going through their health journey?
Wow, coping emotionally. I mean, I think my faith, played a big role in this, just praying, just like listening to sermons, listening to worship music, listening to, my mother, my grandmother, just instilling that faith in me, like, that I'm okay. Like, no matter what, I'm going to be okay. Like, I'm here for a purpose. Like, I will get through this. Everyone telling me I'm strong. You're the strongest person I've ever met. Even if I didn't feel it in the moment, just really taking that to heart and being like, yes, I can get through this. Just taking time for myself to just breathe, really. Like breathing activities is something that everyone needs to do. Just really taking that time to just breathe and, meditate, eat well, try to get enough sleep. I know it's hard with this, health issue, but, sleep as much as you can, hydrate as much as you can, and just emotionally, just kind of like envisioning what life can be, will be, after the pain is done, and even like tricking yourself too, like claiming your victory, right? Like, I am healed, I am better, I am healthy. Saying these things, even if it may not look like it, right? You may not feel healthy, you may not feel like, pain-free, but claiming these things. So yeah, it's a lot of mindset. And coming on these calls too, the calls, in the Conqueror program, and being able to vent, talk about what you're going through. I've cried before on these calls, and it's cathartic, because you're not the only one. So it's like, don't hold it in. Everyone on these calls are experiencing the same thing you're feeling. And so it's like, feel vulnerable, feel like you can let go and cry and listen to other people's stories and share your story. So having that community is key, because not everyone understands it. Just like Zyla was saying, it's like, what? You don't know how to take care of your skin? It's not that simple. So being around people who understand helps emotionally too.
For sure. That's a really good answer. And thank you for sharing that. I also wanted to share some photos of some other clients that we've helped before as well, just to let you know that everyone has a different skin presentation. It all looks different, and everyone heals in different ways. Everything from staph infections like this one to like fungal infections and skin redness on the face too. There's so many things that we do work with, and I just want to remind you of that you're not alone. And it's my mission to help all of you see improvements and to see healing as well, and to help you go through this. And so if any of you would love to learn more about how it works, if we were to work with you or support you on your healing journey, feel free to book a complimentary breakthrough call, and someone will post it in the chat, and we'd love to support you on your journey and just let you know that you're not alone. And yeah, just let you know that we're here for you as well. And yeah, we want to be here to let you know that your test can become your testimony and your mess can become your message. So any last words? I have Zyla back on too, but any last words, Zyla and Jen, that you want to share before we head off today?
Yeah, like just what I was saying, just like, just love on yourself. Just love on yourself. And something too that would get me through, it's like I'm gonna be turning 40 this year. And I've had like a lot of time of like sickness. I mean, so like I said before, since I graduated, my skin health went downhill. And so that was, 2008. So I've had a lot of my life was just like dealing with sickness and dealing with sickness. And I would always kind of tell myself, like, don't worry, things are going to be better. Like, you have a lifetime to do these things that you want to do and whatnot. Like, just not giving up hope. Like, just always having a vision of what things can and will be, and talk about things like that will be. I will be healed. I am healed. And so just, always talk to yourself in a positive, loving way. And cry if you need to cry, vent if you need to vent. Like, don't hold those things in, because that's stress and all those things. It's not good for you. It's only contributing to the inflammation, to what's going on with your skin. So yeah, just be gentle with yourself. That's the best thing I can do. And thanks everyone for listening. And yeah,
it was such a pleasure to meet with all of you and to see all of you here. And just a reminder that none of you are alone in this, and we are here for you. You're all super strong conquerors and warriors, and we know that you can get through it. And if Zyla and Jen can get through it, you can too. And so we're here for you, and we know you can overcome this. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. And we really appreciate that you took the time here. And hopefully this was helpful. If you have any further questions, don't forget you can book that breakthrough call, or either reach out to me on Instagram at Eczema Conquerors. And you can always send me a DM there. Take care, everyone. I hope you have a great day.